Greetings, everyone. Thank you for joining us from different parts of the globe. It is wonderful to have you all here. I hope I'm audible. Could you please give a quick thumbs up or a reaction to confirm? Great. Thank you for the confirmation. Welcome to our webinar on telecom product regulations and global cybersecurity requirements. My name is Ankita Rai, and I'm delighted to be your moderator for today's session. We have an exciting and insightful agenda lined up, featuring expert speakers who will walk us through the evolving landscape of telecom compliance and cybersecurity risk standards. So without further delay, let's dive right in and get started. For those of you joining us for the first time, I would like to begin with a brief introduction to Vincular and what we do. I hope the slide transition is visible to everyone. Could you please give a thumbs up again to confirm? Great, thank you. So Vincular started its operations in 2012 and has grown to become India's leading regulatory compliance consulting company. We serve as a dedicated compliance partner to brands, manufacturers, and their subsidiaries, both within India and across global markets. Our mission is to simplify the compliance journey by providing end-to-end solutions covering consulting, regulatory strategy, policy interpretation, risk assessment, and compliance management. We cater to a broad spectrum of product categories, including electronics, IT, telecommunications, medical devices, cosmetics, among others, making us a one-stop solution for diverse regulatory needs. Moving on to the next slide, you will see here a snapshot of the services that we offer under our umbrella. Please take a moment to glance through the range of support we provide. Further, please note that the entire presentation deck and the recording of today's webinar will be shared with all participants after the session. Before we proceed with the seminar agenda, as we all know, the telecom sector is one of the most dynamic and crucial pillars of India's digital infrastructure. From mobile connectivity and broadband services to data privacy and spectrum allocation, telecom regulations play a vital role in shaping how we connect, communicate, and conduct business. Today, we aim to delve deeper into the various aspects of telecom product regulations that we have, understanding its implications and addressing any queries that you might have. Our agenda for today includes overview of TEC MTCTE certification, key insights on the newly introduced MTCTE Phase 6, understanding the COMSEC Telecom Cybersecurity Testing Rule, security requirement under CCTV cameras, that is ER01 2024, overview of global security standards, and finally, why Vincular. We also have a Q&A tab located at the top of your chat screen. Please feel free to submit your questions there. Our appointed representatives are actively monitoring it and will respond to your queries. And do not forget to check the chat box. We have shared some helpful resources, including link to Vincular's blog, a link for compliance update, and our social media handles for ongoing engagement. Now, it is my pleasure to introduce our distinct speakers for today's session. First, we have Mr. Krishna Kumar Lahoti, Director of Criterion Network Labs. Mr. Lahoti leads one of the most respected and globally recognized test and certification laboratories with operations spanning the US, India, and Australia. Under his leadership, CN Labs has become a pioneer in network, software, and security testing, and is among the select few labs globally recognized as NIST-approved laboratory. In addition to his role at CN Labs, Mr. Lahoti is actively engaged in shaping the future of networking and telecom standards. He serves as Vice Chair of the APEC IPv6 Council, President of the ANZ IPv6 Forum, and Vice Chair of NWG 11 under ITUT Study Group 11. With deep domain expertise in IPv6, network virtualization, and cybersecurity, he brings a rare blend of technical depth and regulatory insight. We are truly honored to have him with us today to share his insights on telecom regulations and their impact on the evolving digital ecosystem. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Krishna Kumar Lahoti. Next, we have Ms. Neha Bisht, who brings deep expertise in regulatory compliance and product certification within the telecom and electronic sector. Sneha currently serves as a program manager and regulatory compliance specialist at Vincular, where she leads complex compliance and certification initiatives with over 8 years of experience in managing end-to-end product approvals in the telecom domain. She plays a critical role as our in-house expert on TEC MTCTE certification. Beyond telecoms, Sneha has also successfully handled approvals for electronic, electrical, and household products in India. Her regulatory proficiency spans international standards as well, including FCC, CE, ISED, and IEC. And she has led compliance programs for telecom and IT products across multiple global markets. Her well-rounded expertise makes her a trusted advisor for navigating India's evolving regulatory landscape. Please join me in welcoming Ms. Neha Bisht. They are experts in the field and will guide us through the various aspects of product regulations in India. I will now hand it over to Sneha to kickstart our presentation. Sneha, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you, Ankita, for that wonderful introduction. So my agenda for the discussion would be an overview of TEC MTCTE certification scheme. We will talk about the various products covered under the MTCTE regulation and the upcoming products under the Phase 6. We will also discuss the comprehensive testing requirements in MTCTE and how product categorization is done under an MTCTE ER. Another topic, very important one that I'm going to cover is the overall MTCTE certification procedure. I will close my topics with some important points to be kept in mind by OEMs going for MTCTE certificate. On to the next slide, please. Okay, before MTCTE, allow me to help you first understand about TEC. So TEC, the Telecom Engineering Center, is the technical wing of Department of Telecommunication, which comes under the Ministry of Communication, reporting to the Government of India. So TEC is responsible not just for regulating telecom products through various certification schemes like MTCTE, but also for designation of labs for testing of telecom products and also creating specification with which this testing can be done. Another technical wing under DOT is NCCS, the National Center for Communication Security, which takes care of security certification of telecom products in parallel to MTCTE. So TEC initially introduced the MTCTE regulation in 2008 and released the official gazette in 2017, notifying the commencement of the regulation. From 2018, the regulation came into force. Now, how TEC defines the scope of MTCTE is that a telecom product that connects or has the capability to connect to the Indian telecom network is covered under the scope of certification. It also states that MTCTE is applicable to complete products only, so any telecom module or CKD or SKD-like component is not purview to the regulation. Now, who is responsible for certifying a telecom product with TEC? So TEC states that the OEM, the design right holder of the telecom product, as the party responsible for taking the certificate. If it is a foreign OEM, an authorized Indian representative entity like the importer, the branch office, distributor, or any third-party entity has to represent the interest of TEC, the interest of the OEM to TEC. The MTCTE certificate is given to a combination of OEM and model number, and if any of these factors change, a fresh MTCTE certificate has to be taken. Coming to the validity of MTCTE certificate. So for a regular certification validity, the OEM is given a validity of 10 years. And if any parameter has been exempted by TEC, then the validity becomes provisional of 2 years. We will now move on to the next slide, which talks about the various products that are covered under MTCTE. Okay, so as on today, 5 phases of MTCTE have already been announced, making 197 products mandatory for certification. So for import or sale of any of these 197 products in India, MTCTE certificate is absolutely necessary. whether it is a CPE device like access point, PON, or an IoT gateway, or a data center device like a data center switch or router, a RAN network product like base station or repeater, or even a 5G core product, all of these products are already covered and mandatory for certification as on today. Now, the sixth phase of MTCTE has also been announced, and it will also become mandatory for certification from August 2025. In the next slide, we will talk about the various products that are covered under this phase 6. Okay, so the first product category is cellular CPE. So a customer premise equipment that uses cellular technology as the WAN connectivity is covered under phase 6. Fixed wireless phones are also covered. SAN switches, interestingly, are also covered under phase 6 along with fabric interconnect switch. Satellite has also been picking up a lot of traction in India, and as satellite broadband becomes a possibility for the Indian household, TEC has regulated two more products, the NGSO gateway and NGSO terminal in the phase 6. Lastly, after a lot of consultation with the industry, TEC has also added 7 new variants under the ER of IP security equipment to keep up with the new emerging technologies and product categories. So these are the products that were covered under phase 6. We will now move on to the next slide and talk about the exhaustive testing requirements in MTCTE. So like I said, MTCTE involves a very exhaustive set of testing requirements, which spans from electrical safety as per IS 13252 and IEC 62368. And although IEC 60950 has been phased out globally, MTCTE department still accepts it for the purpose of certification. Next is the EMC-EMI, electromagnetic compatibility or electromagnetic interference testing requirement as per TEC's own standards, which is somewhat harmonized with the global CISPR, EN and IC standards. We also have telecom requirements, which include testing of telecom ports as per IEEE standards, RF testing as per EN or FCC standards, and protocol testing as per various RFCs and ITUT standards. For some very specific product categories, like PON devices, some additional testing also has to be done, like interoperability testing and energy efficiency testing called the ECR testing. Lastly, we also have the security testing requirement from NCCS, which is mandatory for product categories like access points, IP routers, and 5G SMS as per the security standard prepared by NCCS department. So this was the comprehensive set of testing requirements in MTCTE. We will now move on to the next slide, which talks about an important topic called product categorization in MTCTE. So although for every product, TEC has released an ER against which testing is mandatory, a lot of OEMs still struggle to select an appropriate ER for the certification of their device. With the evolution of technology, sometimes products are designed to be multifunctional in nature. So a product may be marketed or imported as a gateway, but it may be used as a router by the end customer in its practical use case scenario. At times, we also select the ER based on the name of the product, and we are unable to test it as per technical protocols present in that ER. So the question arises, how to certify such products, how to select the appropriate ER, and how to avoid such last-minute changes. So to select a suitable ER, we first understand its use case and application scenario in practical deployment. We also understand the device in terms of its functionality, role, and position in a telecom network. Using this understanding, we select a suitable ER, maybe like firewall or web application firewall. And then lastly, we check the protocols in these ERs against which testing has to be done. Now, based on this, we finalize the ER and move on with the testing and certification process. Like I said, Vincular can help you with end-to-end product categorization. As we have, throughout the past few years, we have done this for a lot of manufacturers with a very proven track record. With product categorization being discussed, I will move on to the next slide, which is the official MTCTE procedure. Now, selecting an ER, after selecting an ER, the first step for us is to create a login account at the MTCTE portal for the OEM. Although this profile approval generally spans about 10 days, Sometimes TEC also requests for additional details like the shareholding pattern of the OEM, maybe the nationality of the directors in order to approve the profile creation request. So we do this in parallel with product testing in order to save the overall timeline of the project. Testing requirements in itself, they are very exhaustive. Hence, we ask multiple samples from the OEM in order to complete the testing in a parallel manner. Now, once the account of the OEM is created in the MTCTE portal and we have the first draft of test reports, we proceed with creation of the BOM file. So the bill of material or the BOM file doesn't need to be a very in-depth file for the purpose of MTCTE, but based on our experience, it needs to contain certain details like the EMC class of the product, details related to telecom connectivity of the product. Maybe the product has Ethernet or optical ports, RF module and EIRP details as tested, cellular module in case it is a cellular product. So these details we furnish in the BOM file. And on top of this, we also mention the power supply details in the document. Once this document is submitted, TEC generally takes about 4 to 5 days for scrutiny, after which the application becomes open for the final submission. So for products that are covered under the simplified certification scheme of MTCTE, TEC generally takes 2 weeks in order to release the certificate. For general certification scheme products, TEC takes about 4 to 6 weeks to do the scrutiny and release the certificate because this application file is passed on to the regional TEC department to make the evaluation. So this was the MTCTE procedure for normal products covered under the GCS and SCS category. We will move on to the next slide where we will talk about the certification procedure for devices where security testing is already mandatory. Now for products where security testing is mandatory, we need to submit the hardware BOM as well as the software or ITSAR BOM of the product. This file is scrutinized by both TEC and NCCS department before opening the application for test report submission. After the test reports are submitted, NCCS makes the initial scrutiny and coordinates with the security lab for hash verification of the firmware in the physical sample of the device. After NCCS accepts this hash verification, a certificate called the Pro Trump certificate is released, which has the validity of 6 months. Now, as security testing is already mandatory for some devices and the overall timeline spans about 14 to 16 weeks, Protom certificate was released as a provision by NCCS to ensure market and business continuity in India. In this 6-month validity duration, an OEM has to complete the security testing of the device. After the Protom certificate is released by NCCS, the application is passed back to the MTCTE department for scrutiny, and finally the MTCTE certificate is released. So for products that are mandatory for certification under security testing, APs and routers, this is the certification procedure that an OEM needs to follow. So the next and the last topic that I'm going to cover in this presentation is some key aspects of MTCTE regulation that every OEM needs to be aware about. So the first is all testing for the purpose of MTCTE must be done in India, barring a few product categories like base station for 5G networks and some routers, switches, and DWDM products which come under the special certification criteria. Next is the possibility of a series-based approval. So in short, yes, series-based possible is definitely a possibility under MTCTE, and in the official MTCTE procedure, TEC has notified various approaches with which this can be done. The first approach is the pizza box or the same PCB approach. Now, if the PCB is same for 10 models in your portfolio, you may take approval from the TEC department by testing the model with the highest configuration, having the maximum number of interface ports and power requirements. Second approach is the chassis-based model approach, which is considered in the case of modular products. So if chassis is same for 10 models in your portfolio, you may take approval by testing the highest configuration with all combinations of the interface cards in the device. Next is the split type unit approach, which is used for products like base station, where split units like BBU and RU are present. And here you can do the safety and EMCMI testing for both units in a standalone fashion. But in order to conduct technical testing of the device, both of these devices need to be connected. Last and the most complex one, the family-based models. If you have a family of model where any chassis and any network card may be used to create n number of combinations by inserting any network card in any chassis, you may take approval using the family-based approach. Coming to the labeling guidelines. So labeling guidelines are also mandatory under MTCTE. A product being imported or sold in India must bear the TEC logo and certificate number as per the intent of the regulation. However, labeling is relaxed for a period of 6 months from the mandatory date of the product or the certificate date of the product, whichever of the two is later. This was done in order to accommodate practical challenges from OEM with respect to labeling of their devices. Lastly, we have market surveillance. Market surveillance also, although a procedure is already notified for market surveillance in the official MTCTE procedure, it is not implemented today. So in the next few years, we may see another aspect of the MTCTE regulation where surveillance is another responsibility for OEM. With that, I come to the end of my topics. I have tried to cover mostly anything of importance on a high level, but for any in-depth understanding or any technical question, you can write on the Q&A section of this webinar and our team will respond to you. With that, I'll hand over the session back to you, Ankita, and thank you so much.
Thank you, Sneha, for the valuable insights. It was comprehensive and very helpful in understanding the current regulatory landscape. Dear participants, as I informed at the beginning of the session, this is just to reiterate, we have a Q&A tab located at the top of your chat screen. Please feel free to submit your questions there. Our appointed representatives are actively monitoring it and will respond to your questions. Next up, we have Mr. Krishna Kumar Lahoti. Sir, the stage is yours.
Thank you, Ankita, for the warm introduction. Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining this webinar. I'm Krishna Kumar Lahoti. I lead Criterion Network Labs, and today we will be discussing the cybersecurity regulatory compliance aspects in India and even globally, especially in the APAC and US and Europe regions. So can we move on to the slides, please? Next slide. A brief introduction of our laboratory, Criterion Network Labs, also known as CN Labs. We are an independent, vendor-neutral test and certification laboratory, and we specialize in advanced networking technologies, cybersecurity, and IoT technologies. We have a sister concern called the Criterion Networks, where we have a SD Cloud platform, and it is used by enterprises and telecom operators for network transformation, especially for SD-WAN and SASE deployments. And our customers include all the OEMs, ODMs, product vendors, large ISPs, tier 1, tier 2 telecom operators, large enterprises, and value-added resellers. We are India's first NABL accredited test lab for software test methods since 2015. And we are also approved by NIST USA for the US government IPv6 program. Worldwide, only 2 labs are approved for this program, and we are one of them. We are also approved by the IPv6 Forum for the IPv6 Ready Logo certification. Worldwide, I believe there are 6 or 7 labs. We are the only active laboratory in India. And from the early days, we've been engaged with the Open Networking Foundation on the software-defined networking related scenarios, including OpenFlow, switch specification, OpenFlow testing and certification programs. And most recently, we got approved by the Wi-SUN Alliance for the Wi-SUN FAN certification, typically used by discoms and smart metering manufacturers. We are designated by the Department of Telecom's TEC, which is the regulator in India for telecom equipments. I've been there from the very early days, including identifying the test requirements, developing test methodologies, and specifying how the testing must be performed. We are also recognized by the Bureau of Indian Standards as India's first cybersecurity test lab for testing the CCTV camera cybersecurity regulation as the first private test lab. And we are also recognized by MCMC Malaysia and CIRIM, which is the certification body in Malaysia, where there is a mandatory IPv6 compliance requirement. We have laboratories in India, here in Bangalore. One more lab is there in Santa Clara in USA, and we have the most recent lab in the University of New South Wales in Sydney, Australia. Next slide, please. What we do is testing and certification services. We offer testing and certification services to more than 200 OEMs and product vendors globally. And this include industry product certifications, regulatory compliance certifications, or even as a third-party independent lab when some of our customers require an independent lab to validate their solutions, products, and technologies on behalf of their customers or even for their internal consumption. We offer end-to-end testing and certification services by partnering with certification partners such as Vincular and even with other international test labs who undertake hardware-related testing like EMI, EMC, safety, and RF, which predominantly comprise of all the telecom equipment regulatory testing scenarios. We've been there in the SDN space from the very early days. We understand that space very, very well. And we've been working on SDN virtualization and cloud since 2013, and we've been participating in global standardization forums, including IETF, IEEE, ETSI, IPv6 Forum, NIST, and so on, and Open Networking Foundation, Linux Foundation, and so on and so forth. So we develop test specifications, we create the test scenarios, we do the testing, and eventually help our product vendors get the certifications. IPv6 is something that has been a strong component of our laboratory. It's a core competency that we have, especially being approved by all the major IPv6 certification bodies like NIST, IPv6 Forum, and CIRIM. So the idea is to offer a comprehensive set of certification packages to our customers so that you can test once and get market access to various different geographies. The same idea we try to leverage and are trying to offer the same set of comprehensive certification packages in cybersecurity as well, where we have the Indian Telecom security assurance requirements, which we will discuss in detail today, along with FIPS common criteria and the European Union regulations like RED and NIS2 and the Cyber Resilience Act, which is the CRA scheme. We have a lot of collaborations with SPs, enterprises, and utilities, where as a third-party lab, our inputs and technical competency is leveraged by our partners to define procurement requirements, and we also help eventually in testing and certification. So all in all, we are operating across various sectors, including telecom and IT, automotive, healthcare, and defense. Next slide, please. Why cybersecurity compliance matters. Most of you are already aware. There's a lot of push on the cybersecurity certifications, including regulatory compliance requirements. The reason is very simple. With the increase in the connected devices and with the advancement in technologies, there is a rapid expansion of the attack surfaces, and that is one core reason where cybersecurity is important, and there is a global regulatory push around the same. There are procurement and market access related requirements, which are again important, where cybersecurity checks are mandatory to supply your products to various customers. Then you have a lot of attacks that are going on, including the one that happened today, IPv6 based Slack based spoofing attack in China. So there are various standards and regulations. North America has FIPS and common criteria requirements. Europe has NIS2, CE, RED, and CRA. India has its own ITSAR and the BIS CCTV certification and Australia has the Australian Cybersecurity Act that was recently published. Singapore, Japan, Vietnam, Malaysia, and several other Asia Pacific countries have either existing requirements or upcoming requirements. So various different countries are developing their own set of cybersecurity requirements. These either become mandatory as part of a regulation or as part of a procurement, especially in public enterprises. The role of ITUT is very important here. As an organ of the United Nations, the ITUT has a very strong role to play. In October 2024, India held the World Telecommunication Standards Assembly, and there was cybersecurity was a key topic, and the idea was to bring everyone to agree that we need to have a common set of cybersecurity certifications and a kind of harmonization where product vendors do not need to test different times for different places and for different access in different markets. So CN Labs, we offer, the cybersecurity solutions in terms of testing, certifications, and so on. We are actively engaged in shaping the cybersecurity standards and regulations and regulatory frameworks. We develop customized and standards aligned test specifications. Like, for example, the IPv6 Slack-based spoofing attack that I mentioned, it's an adversary in the middle attack. You will not find testing related to these kind of attacks in any of the standards that is mentioned. But we having the core competency in both IPv6 and cybersecurity, we develop customized test plans to address these kind of requirements, right? So comprehensive testing, certification, and compliance services we offer for our OEMs and product vendors, including pre-compliance gap analysis and consulting on how to make the product compliant. Because once submitted for formal evaluation, the cost and the timelines, which we will discuss in the upcoming slide, they exponentially increase. So it is very important to begin from very early stages. So security by design is at the core of many of these standards and regulations, and that is where we come in, and we allow our customers to develop compliant products right from the get-go. Next slide, please. Cybersecurity in India, specifically if we talk about it, National Security Council Secretariat is the nodal agency. It takes care of all the security aspects in India, including cybersecurity. It provides the overall coordination and strategic direction to various different ministries and departments on cybersecurity. There is a National Cybersecurity Coordinator whose office is in National Security Council Secretariat, and they formulate the National Cybersecurity Strategy. National Security Directive on Telecommunication Sector was published by the National Security Council Secretariat, and that is where we have the concept of Trusted Telecom Portal. Many of the product vendors and OEMs might be aware of it, that if you need to supply your equipment in India, you need to be registered as a Trusted Telecom vendor. Now we have Ministry of Communications and Ministry of Electronics and IT. Until 2016, both these ministries were one single ministry called the Ministry of Communications and IT. But after the bifurcation, Ministry of Communication handles all the telecom related security aspects, whereas the Ministry of Electronics and IT handles the cybersecurity aspects related to consumer facing devices. And then we have the Ministry of Home Affairs, which deals with matters related to cybercrime. This comes in after an attack has happened or after a fraud has happened. Now, when we talk about Ministry of Communications, the key agency here, as Sneha mentioned in her presentation, is the NCCS, which is located here in Bengaluru. NCCS stands for National Center for Communication Security. It is the security arm of the Department of Telecommunication. Their job is to formulate security standards for telecom equipment, to designate test labs, and to eventually conduct the formal evaluation, testing, and certification. When designated labs perform testing on telecom equipment, NCCS appoints a validator who visits the laboratory and witnesses the testing. So it's a lot more stringent than what it's currently happening abroad. So all telecom and some IT products, including routers, switches, Wi-Fi access points, and CPEs, firewall equipment, 4G, 5G equipment, operating systems of all things, and there is also an ITSAR on NFV. So we will talk about the various phases, various types of requirements for each of these products in the upcoming slides. Quickly shifting to the Ministry of Electronics and IT, their job is to support other ministries and departments on cybersecurity. They define the standards, requirements, specification, and strategic guidance, especially on the consumer-facing devices like CCTV cameras or smart electricity meters and so on, including wearables, and home IoT devices. They have the Computer Emergency Response Team of India, which is the nodal entity under Ministry of Electronics and IT. And they are at the helm of all these things. So, and the next slide. A brief overview of the Indian Telecom Security Assurance requirements. These are the security guidelines and compliance requirements established by the NCCS under DOT, Ministry of Communications, Government of India. While TEC's MTCTE scheme, as Sneha described in her presentation, it consists of certain hardware-related tests like EMC safety, and there are some software-related tests like the technical parameters, IPv6, IPv4, interfaces, and so on. So basically, the idea is to check the essential requirements under the MTCTE scheme, whereas the NCCS COMSEC scheme, which is the Communication Security Scheme, comprises of the Indian Telecom Security Assurance requirements. This is the security extension to the India's Telecom and IT Product Regulatory Framework under the Indian Telegraph Act of 2017 amendment. So all in all, the Indian telecom product regulatory compliance today, if any product vendor wants to achieve, it has to cover both TEC's essential requirements and NCCS ITSAR requirements. There is a single window portal, the MTCT portal, where you can apply for this certification. As of today, for routers and for Wi-Fi CPEs, just doing the TEC's essential requirements is not sufficient to obtain a MTCTE certificate. You need to do both TECER and NCCS ITSAR. And the same is going to be applicable for upcoming products, especially for LAN switches and firewalls. And then I think they are going to launch other products like operating systems, NFVs, 5G equipment, and so on. So the regulator here, NCCS, they define the security standards. They ensure that the network devices, software, communication systems used in India, they meet the cybersecurity and data protection requirements. Their aim is to safeguard the Indian telecom ecosystem from cyber threats, unauthorized access, and vulnerabilities that could compromise national security and user data integrity. And CN Labs has been involved in the creation of ITSARs. We participate very actively in the standards creation. Our engagement goes back to 2016 with the Department of Telecommunication, first with the essential requirements and now with the ITSAR requirements. Next slide, please. The general scope of ITSARs, if you see on the right, on the left-hand side, access and authorization, authentication, attribute management, software security, system environment and user audit, data protection, attack prevention mechanisms, vulnerability assessment, and operating system security requirements, web server requirements. These are some of the common requirements, and many of you might be aware that these requirements are also present in the common criteria or ETSI 303645 or NIS2. While there are some requirements are similar, the testing methodologies that are prescribed by NCCS for India are very exhaustive in nature. Testing takes anywhere between 14 to 16 weeks, depending on the product. And the ITSARs also include the specific security requirements tailored to each product category. For a router, there will be additional set of test requirements. There are cryptographic related test requirements similar to what we see in FIPS 140-3, and these are tested by designated labs using approved test methodologies and specially prescribed tools. So we see that NCCS in India has been very prescriptive about how the testing must be done, using what test tools it must be done, and they even come to witness the testing by appointing a validator. There are some useful links which my partners can share with you later on. Next slide, please. A brief overview of the ITSAR timelines. Similar to the MTCTE scheme, the NCCS COMSEC scheme also will be launched in a very phased manner. There will be phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, and so on. Already the routers and Wi-Fi CPEs, which are very common, they have been made mandatory as of 1st of October 2024. And these are going to be followed by ONTs and OLTs. The last date was 1st of April 2025, and now it has been extended by another 3 or 4 months to 1st of August 2025. And then we expect the LAN switches and firewalls to come in. And then next year, there will be other equipment like 5G operating systems, NFV, and so on. So to ensure early compliance and streamline the certification process, we strongly recommend that engaging with a laboratory like CN Labs for pre-compliance testing will ensure that your products meet the security standards before formal evaluation. There is also a lot of documentary verification involved, and testing obviously is there. So there's a lot of interaction with the OEM's engineering teams, especially if you are a product vendor, you will have dependencies on your OEMs and ODMs to get a lot of details. And we have seen, at least in our experience over the last 2 to 3 years, that although testing, which should take like about 10 to 12 weeks, sometimes it takes 3 months or even 6 months in some cases. The testing timelines, that's a very conservative view, I would say, is 3 to 4 weeks for process formalities, another 8 to 10 weeks for the pre-testing phase, which is a comprehensive gap analysis. At the end of this analysis, you get a test report saying what is the actual delta with respect to the requirements. And then there are a lot of deliberations on how to make this product compliant, because some of the features are intentional, right? They are by design, and the security requirements in India are in conflict with your design requirements. So we see a lot of challenges. So engaging early on in a gap analysis has always been useful. It allows you to coordinate with NCCS. It allows you to present your case, and it allows you enough time internally to make your product compliant. So after this gap analysis is completed, 2 weeks in debugging and troubleshooting typically it takes, then we publish a final report. And then anywhere between 20 to 24 weeks, there is a re-engineering to resolve the failures depending on the percentage of failures. And it's very conservative, as I mentioned. 8 to 10 weeks again for retesting, because each and every test case, even those which were passed in the previous run, are also executed again just to make sure that the product has not introduced any new vulnerabilities. And then eventually 12 to 16 weeks of formal evaluation, after which NCCS will provide you with the security certificate. Next slide, please. Next, we have the mighty BIS CCTV security regulation. As I mentioned, the Ministry of Electronics and IT, it handles the cybersecurity regulations for consumer-facing devices. 10th of April 2024, almost a year ago, they issued a gazetted notification amending the Electronics and IT Goods Order 2021, mandating that all CCTV cameras manufactured, sold, or imported in India must undergo testing and certification for cybersecurity requirements. The requirements are created by the Ministry of Electronics and IT, and BIS has been appointed as the certification body to designate labs, to evaluate the applications, and to provide the eventual certification. The essential cybersecurity requirements for CCTV were incorporated as an annexure to the existing BIS IS 13252 standard, which is actually a safety standard, and they have added an annexure to it wherein the cybersecurity requirements have been prescribed. Physical security, access control, network security, software security, and penetration testing requirements have been introduced in the annexure. So MIT specifies the security requirements for CCTV cameras, and BIS is responsible for designating the test labs, evaluating applications, and for certification and the registration, which is mandatory. CN Labs is the first BIS recognized lab for cybersecurity testing of CCTV cameras, and we play a key role in defining these methodologies and expected behavior and compliance criteria. Next slide, please. CCTV security regulation timelines, wherein on 10th of April, the mandatory order came in, and 17th September, CN Labs was designated. On 20th November, MIT issued an order wherein it entrusted only the government-owned STQC labs for the formal evaluation and certification. And CN Labs had a different approach now to offer pre-compliance testing services, because once you submit your products to STQC, it takes a very long time before the final certificate is achieved, because many of the security test requirements can fail, and you get very little and limited support from the STQC labs in terms of how do you get to resolve your product, how do you resolve the failures basically. And you have the testing timelines, 3 to 4 weeks of process formalities, again 4 to 6 weeks pre-testing phase, 2 weeks of debugging and troubleshooting, and 1 week for reporting, and then 10 to 12 weeks for re-engineering 4 to 6 weeks again for retesting, and then anywhere between 24 to 30 weeks for formal evaluation by STQC. So if you are a CCTV camera manufacturer or a product vendor, this might be very, very useful for you to understand on what it takes to get your product certified for the security certification in India, which is mandatory as of today. Next slide, please. The global landscape of cybersecurity regulations, this list is not comprehensive in any way. You have FIPS 140-3, EU NIS 2 directive, CE Red, again Europe, European Union Cyber Resilience Act. You have Asia Pacific countries which have their own requirements, and you have the common trends across all these regulations, as I mentioned before, that some of the requirements are common across all these regulations. So the idea that we have is to offer end-to-end end-to-end comprehensive testing package, so that once your product is tested, you can be assured that it will pass all the formal evaluations. And in many places, CN Labs can help you directly with the certification aspects. So FIPS 140-3, many of you might be aware, cryptographic validation standard required for federal use, similar to the USGV6 program. And after September 2026, FIPS 140-2 certificates will no longer be considered valid. So everybody is advised to move to the FIPS 140-3 certification. You have the NIS 2 directive in Europe, where it is mandatory from October 2024. You have the upcoming CE Red cybersecurity requirements for personal data and network integrity for wireless products. The standard EN 18031 is effective in use, and it is mandatory from 1st of August 2025. Then you have the EU Cyber Resilience Act, where ETSI 303645 and its extensions are being used. It's in force from 2024 December, and 2026 September and 2027 December is where it actually gets in mandatory. You have Japan's Cybersecurity Basic Act for telecom regulations and the mandate for cybersecurity assessment and vulnerability management. Taiwan has the BSMI's cybersecurity certification. Malaysia has a draft bill, but it's going to be introduced very soon, probably next year, as a mandatory cybersecurity certification. Vietnam has the Cybersecurity Law and Decree 53-2022. It enforces the data residency and compliance for ICT equipment. Next slide, please. So with Vincular and CN Labs, you get a strategic compliance support, wherein the joint expertise is leveraged to provide our customers with product compliance across various geographies. We are aligned with the standards, we are aligned with the regulations, and if you have additional test requirements, we can customize the test specifications to introduce or add more requirements as needed. We provide end-to-end testing and advisory with pre-compliance gap analysis, threat modeling, and TARA. The full stack cybersecurity testing is performed, and compliance documentation and risk support services are also provided. Basically, it's a strategic value that we offer, so that reduced cost to compliance, there is faster go-to-market time, and improved procurement readiness. Next slide, please. We have some other lab programs wherein we offer training, consulting, security testing services, interoperability verification, beyond the certifications and regulatory compliance aspects. Next slide, please. That's all. Thank you, and I'll hand it over back to Ankita.
Thank you, Krishna, for taking the time and sharing such in-depth knowledge, also for reflecting on the association of CN Labs with Vincular. Thank you so much. So both our speakers have covered their presentation, and as we approach towards the end of the session, let us reflect on why so many brands choose Vincular. At Vincular, we bring end-to-end regulatory compliance expertise to the table, from documentation and testing coordination to approvals and post-market compliance, ensuring a smooth certification journey. Our licensing relationship with key Indian authorities like DOT, TEC, BIS, and WPC allow us to fast-track approvals and keep clients ahead of regulatory changes. We are also aligned with India's evolving cybersecurity mandates, helping you stay audit ready as applicable, and compliant with data and firmware security standards. Our deep technical knowledge spans diverse product categories from IoT and telecom to cloud platforms, giving us a strategic edge in handling complex submissions. What truly sets us apart is our focus on efficiency and accuracy. We get it right the first time, reducing delays and rework. Trusted by global brands for market entry in India, Vincular blends international business understanding with unmatched local insight. With the pan-India presence, we offer on-ground support and faster turnaround through close coordination with the testing labs like CN Labs and authorities across the country. So this covers for why Vincular. Further, our representatives have tried cover the response to most of your queries in the Q&A section of the chat box. So participants, if you have further questions or need additional information, at the last screen of this presentation, there is a contact window that is visible. So please feel free to reach out to us. We have a lot more to discuss and help you with. So with this, thank you all for being a part of today's webinar. We truly appreciate your time and active participation. And before we close, we would also like to draw your attention to our upcoming webinars. These sessions are designed to keep you informed and prepared for the ever-evolving regulatory landscape. So be sure to stay tuned for our further invitations. We encourage you to confirm your participation to continue learning, adapting, and growing with us. Thank you once again, and we look forward to connecting with you all again in future sessions. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you.